US President Trump also announced a trade deal with the Philippines. Earlier, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. met Trump in the White House. Marcos is the first Southeast Asian leader to meet Trump in his second term. Trump has already struck trade deals with Vietnam and Indonesia, but had been driving tough bargains in talks even with close allies. Washington needs to keep on side in its strategic rivalry with China. And for more, we have Akshay Dongre joining us. Well, Akshay, how significant is this trade deal for US-Japan relations, as it includes huge investments by Japan in the US? And what are the broader implications for global trade alliances, especially with the EU now entering the negotiations also?
Well, Lipakshi, becoming quite difficult as far as trying to make sense of everything that's happening when it comes to the trade deal that's taking place with the US, because what once was the largest economy, one of the beacon of free market, has taken a complete 180-degree turn, and now we are the entire world is in fact trying to negotiate their place as far as the US market and trade with it is concerned, vis-a-vis the kind of implications that it may have for the trade. So when it comes to Japan, clearly what we are seeing a $550 billion investment. Along with that, there is clearly going to be a 15% tariff, which has been lowered from before. When it comes to the Japanese goods. For Indonesia, it is 19%. For Philippines, it's different. So it's all depending as far as their relation with the US is concerned on how the trade is going to take place as far as the two sides are concerned. So we'll have to wait and watch that once the implementation begins, how the other world leaders are going to take cues from it. But you have rightly mentioned that this is finally happening as far as many of the countries are concerned, especially the closest allies of the US are now starting to fall in line as far as their trade is concerned. Because irrespective of the policies that are being changed by Donald Trump, one thing remains clear, especially for the closest allies of the US, that US still remains the biggest market, and without the support of the US market, the exports of these countries may not do as well. So that is one concern as of now. But it's a huge reciprocity that Japan has also offered, given the close relation it has, because of $550 billion worth of investment that is going to take from Japan to the US. The profits, most of them are going to the US. So, as far as the Donald Trump policies are concerned, they seem to be working as of now in the favor of the US. Majorly, and that seems to be, in a way, Donald Trump getting back to the countries for what he claims what he claims or has been claiming, that countries have been misusing the market policies of the US. But how sustainable it is going to be for a long term, that remains the question, because Donald Trump is in his second term already. There is a limit to how many terms a president can do in the US. Right. So the next president comes, the trade policies change. So how sustainable this entire method is going to be, that remains a big question. But one thing that Donald Trump has showed is that the market of the US still remains so much relevant that the US government has made countries go way out of their line in order to please the US market, please the US president and the government as well. Back to you.
Absolutely. Also, Akshay, what are the strategic implications of Indonesia if we talk about, it is also lifting restrictions on the critical minerals and supporting the WTO's e-commerce moratorium, especially in the context of US competition with China in this particular region?
Well, it has quite a lot of geopolitical implications, Lipakshi, because first and foremost, China has had some of the largest reserves of these rare minerals. That has also been helping in skyrocketing of the Chinese tech development or tech infrastructure, evolving, and many would argue that it has become even more superior to the US. Rare minerals had a special place in all of this development. Many of these rare minerals are used in semiconductors, artificial intelligence, equipment, advanced manufacturing, etc. So while the US has been eyeing these, or rather has been dependent on the Chinese export of these rare minerals, recently we have seen that the cooperation between the two as far as rare minerals is concerned has not been going down well.
Right.
So whenever Donald Trump threatened the Chinese government with anything, they used to come back with rare minerals. So the US had to ensure the supply of rare minerals, which is dependable. So earlier it tried Russia when we heard the
Yes.
Trump administration trying to negotiate with Russia as far, and Ukraine both for rare minerals, and that was not the only avenue. The U.S. government has been trying to look for various exporters of rare minerals so that its supply chain remains robust. So with Indonesia dropping its export restrictions, clearly is a huge geopolitical victory for the US, especially when it comes to strategy and supply of these continuous supply rather of these very, very important rare minerals that are essential not only in tech revolution but also in modern warfare. Back to you, Pakshi.
Absolutely a geopolitical victory for the US indeed. Thank you so much, Akshay, for all those details.